The afternoon sunlight streamed gently through the windows of the quiet school hallway, casting a warm glow on colorful student paintings lining the walls. Children's laughter echoed softly in the distance, backpacks bouncing as students waved goodbye to teachers and friends. Officer Alex Reed stood calmly near the main exit, his vigilant green eyes scanning the bustling corridor. At his side was Rocky, his faithful canine partner, a powerful German shepherd whose amber eyes were ever alert, ears twitching slightly with every passing sound. Teachers smiled warmly, exchanging casual conversation as the school day came peacefully to an end. The atmosphere was calm, ordinary, safe. Yet suddenly, without warning, Rocky's demeanor shifted drastically. His muscular body tensed, ears flattened sharply, and a deep, rumbling growl vibrated from his chest. Before Alex could react, Rocky lunged forward powerfully, pulling free from Alex's grip. "Rocky, wait!" Alex shouted, startled by the dog's sudden movement. But Rocky's sharp instincts were in full control. In an instant, he reached a large painting, a cheerful scene of children holding hands around a school building, and sunk his teeth into its canvas, violently tearing it from the wall. Teachers gasped sharply, dropping their belongings in shock. The hallway froze, eyes wide with disbelief. "Rocky! What are you doing?" one teacher called, her voice shaking. Alex hurried forward, confusion etched clearly on his face, reaching to pull Rocky back. Yet as the torn painting fell to the polished linoleum floor, all eyes widened further. Behind the ripped canvas, a rectangular outline appeared, cleverly hidden within the wall. Rocky sat rigidly, focused intently on the discovery, his eyes fixed on the opening he'd exposed. Alex moved slowly toward the wall, his heart thudding in his chest. Carefully, he pulled at the loose panel, his breath catching as a hidden compartment slowly swung open, revealing dark, concealed shadows within. Everyone stood utterly motionless, breathless silence overtaking the hallway. The safe, familiar atmosphere had vanished instantly, replaced by tense uncertainty. No one spoke. No one moved. Because in that hidden space lay secrets that would soon shake the entire community to its core. No one was prepared for what Rocky had uncovered. Officer Alex Reed was the quiet guardian of Lakewood Elementary, a figure the kids greeted each day with bright smiles and enthusiastic high fives. In his mid-30s, Alex carried a gentle yet firm presence. His dark hair was neatly cropped, revealing thoughtful green eyes that seemed always alert yet somehow burdened by an unspoken sadness. Colleagues respected his calm manner and careful patience, but few understood the subtle shadows hidden behind his steady gaze. Before joining the school as a safety officer, Alex had spent years in intense law enforcement work, confronting situations that still haunted him quietly in sleepless nights. One particular case lingered painfully, an investigation he couldn't close, a child he hadn't been able to save. That loss silently shaped him, forging his dedication to protecting the innocent, though he rarely spoke about it openly. Always beside him was Rocky, a loyal and highly intelligent German shepherd whose sharp amber eyes missed nothing. Rocky was more than just Alex's canine partner, he was his closest friend and fiercest protector. Retired from the military after courageous service overseas, Rocky himself carried invisible scars, memories etched deep from missions filled with chaos and danger. Alex first encountered Rocky 3 years ago, during a routine police operation against a criminal dogfighting ring. The scene had been horrific, neglected animals trapped in tiny cages, treated with cruelty. Among them was Rocky, injured but still defiant, his spirit strong even through the trauma. Alex had approached carefully, speaking softly. The bond between them had been immediate, almost electric, as if fate had quietly decided their paths should merge. From that day forward, Alex and Rocky became inseparable, slowly helping each other heal the emotional wounds left by their pasts. Rocky's unwavering trust softened Alex's guarded heart, giving him renewed strength to face each new day. In return, Alex offered Rocky something he had never known before: safety, care, and gentle companionship. Their shared experiences created an extraordinary bond, silently evident in small gestures, the reassuring hand Alex placed on Rocky's head, the quiet vigilance Rocky maintained whenever Alex appeared troubled. Both carried burdens they rarely spoke about, quietly navigating their pain together, each understanding without words the depth of the other's scars. And as they stood together now, staring into the dark hidden compartment Rocky had revealed, those shared traumas silently unified them, preparing them for whatever lay hidden ahead. If you've ever had that eerie feeling your pet knew something you didn't, then you understand exactly what's happening here. Animals sometimes sense danger far better than we do, picking up on hidden signs we completely overlook. Have you experienced a moment like that? Has your pet ever surprised you by noticing something important first? If so, hit the like button right now and comment your thoughts below. I genuinely want to hear your stories. Don't forget to tell us what city you're watching from. And keep watching closely, because I promise, you won't believe what Rocky discovered hidden behind that painting next. With cautious fingers, Alex gently pulled the hidden compartment open wider. The air around him seemed thick and heavy as he slowly reached inside. His pulse quickened as his hand brushed against a stack of papers. Carefully, he lifted them out, holding them under the bright hallway lights. "What is it?" whispered Principal Ellen Carter, stepping closer. Her normally calm face now held a look of anxious confusion. Several teachers huddled nearby, nervously glancing between Alex, the compartment, and Rocky, who still sat stiffly, eyes alert. Alex's eyes narrowed as he slowly flipped through the papers. They appeared old, slightly yellowed, edges frayed as if handled often. His breath caught in his throat when he realized they were filled with detailed notes, names of students, schedules, personal details scribbled hastily. Alongside these notes were black and white photographs of children, clearly taken without their knowledge, students playing on the playground, waiting for parents, even close-ups of children walking home alone. "Who would do something like this?" murmured one of the teachers, visibly shaken. Her voice trembled, betraying a fear quickly spreading among the others. Principal Carter shook her head, bewilderment etched deep into her face. "I don't understand, this makes no sense. Who would hide these things in our school?" Alex watched them carefully, gauging reactions. His training taught him to read subtle signals, body language, voice tone, eye movement. Yet, each person here seemed genuinely horrified and shocked. Either someone was remarkably good at deception, or this compartment had gone completely unnoticed, hidden in plain sight for who knew how long. Kneeling beside Rocky, Alex showed him the papers briefly. "Any ideas, buddy?" he asked quietly, half to himself. Rocky sniffed the documents carefully, ears tilted forward, muscles still tense. Alex knew Rocky well enough to recognize the dog's heightened senses. Whatever they had uncovered here clearly triggered his protective instincts deeply. The silence stretched awkwardly as everyone waited for Alex to speak again. Standing slowly, he took a deep breath, meeting the principal's troubled eyes directly. "We need to call this in," Alex said calmly. "It's too serious to ignore. Until we figure this out, no one touches anything here." The teachers nodded immediately, murmuring quiet agreements, relief evident on their faces. Principal Carter nodded too, her expression tight with anxiety but accepting Alex's quiet authority. But beneath Alex's outward calm, suspicion simmered quietly. Someone knew something. Someone had placed this evidence here, hidden carefully behind innocent student artwork. The thought troubled him deeply. What secrets had gone unnoticed within the very walls they trusted to protect children? "Rocky," Alex said softly, placing a comforting hand on the dog's head. Rocky looked up, intelligent eyes meeting Alex's steady gaze. "We're going to figure this out, buddy." Rocky's sharp amber eyes seemed to agree silently, reinforcing Alex's resolve. The answers, Alex realized with growing unease, might be closer and more troubling than anyone imagined. Back at the police station, the overhead lights cast a harsh glow over Alex's desk. Carefully, he spread out the troubling items discovered behind the school painting. Rocky lay quietly nearby, eyes still alert, watching as Alex worked. The contents were even more disturbing now, under careful scrutiny. The notes he'd found were handwritten, small, rushed letters across yellowed pages. Names of children from the school filled the pages, their daily routines meticulously detailed, what time they arrived, how they walked home, even what colors they wore most often. Alex's stomach churned uneasily. Beside these notes were small black and white photographs taken from hidden angles, clearly meant to remain unseen. With each page Alex turned, anger and frustration bubbled higher within him. How had someone monitored these innocent kids for so long without anyone noticing? Next, Alex found detailed hand-drawn maps. School hallways, classrooms, and playgrounds were carefully labeled, each route marked in colored lines. Arrows indicated hiding spots, ideal surveillance points, and quick exits. The final set of documents was even stranger, coded messages composed of random letters, numbers, and cryptic symbols. Alex studied them closely, recognizing they must be secret communications, perhaps between multiple individuals involved. This hinted at something larger, more organized than he'd anticipated. As he stared at the papers scattered before him, the true gravity of the situation hit Alex hard. This wasn't just a simple case of vandalism or prank. Someone had been secretly watching, meticulously tracking children at the very place they should feel safest. The realization shook Alex deeply, igniting a fierce protective determination inside him. Rocky moved quietly, sensing Alex's distress. The dog gently rested his head on Alex's knee, looking up reassuringly. Alex reached down, lightly stroking Rocky's head. "We'll figure this out," Alex whispered, his voice quiet but firm. "We have to." His mind flashed briefly to the past, to the child he hadn't been able to save. The memory still burned sharply, reinforcing his determination now. This time, he would not fail. Taking a deep breath, Alex collected the papers carefully, determined to dig deeper. He knew that hidden within these documents were answers. Someone had violated the innocence and trust of the children he'd sworn to protect, and Alex promised himself silently, he wouldn't rest until the truth was uncovered, no matter how deep or dark it might be. The next morning, Officer Alex Reed returned to Lakewood Elementary with a quiet storm building behind his calm demeanor. With the hidden compartment now sealed off and evidence secured, he began the next phase, talking to the people who knew these halls better than anyone. He started with the teachers, gentle, respectful, and cautious. Sitting down in the teacher's lounge, he asked soft questions. "Have you noticed anything strange lately? Any unfamiliar visitors? Anyone asking about the kids or taking pictures?" Most shook their heads, genuinely confused. "We just teach," one replied. "We trust the building is safe." "That's your job, isn't it?" It wasn't meant to sting, but it did. Alex nodded, keeping his voice steady. "Yes. And that's why I'm asking, because something unsafe has been going on right under all of our noses." Some teachers became defensive. A few insisted they had no idea what he was talking about. Others looked uncomfortable but said little. It was the kind of collective silence Alex had seen before, when people were scared to admit what they might have overlooked. Principal Carter's reaction was stronger. "I don't see how this could have happened," she snapped, pacing in her office. "This school has passed every safety inspection. We screen everyone. No one could have put surveillance gear in here without someone noticing." "That's what I'm trying to understand," Alex said, meeting her gaze calmly. "And if someone did notice something off, I need them to speak up now." She crossed her arms. "Are you suggesting my staff is involved?" "I'm not suggesting anything," Alex replied gently. "But someone is. And the longer we pretend nothing's wrong, the more danger we put these children in." As the interviews continued throughout the day, one person stood out, Mark, the school's janitor. Quiet, always polite, and usually invisible to most. But when Alex asked him questions, his answers were short. His eyes darted away. His hands fidgeted with the ring of keys on his belt. "Did you ever notice anything odd in the east hallway?" Alex asked. Mark shook his head too quickly. "No. Just normal wear and tear. Nothing strange." Alex tilted his head. "That's where the painting was hung. The one Rocky tore down." Mark nodded, eyes still avoiding contact. "Didn't think much of it." But Alex saw it, the tight shoulders, the unsteady breathing. Something wasn't right. By the time dismissal rolled around, whispers had started among the staff. The hallway that once buzzed with cheer now carried a hum of suspicion. Parents watched more closely. Teachers closed doors a little faster. Even the students seemed to notice the tension. Alex leaned against the main hallway wall beside Rocky, who sat calmly, watching everyone pass with silent awareness. This school had been a place of routine. Now it was a place of questions. And Alex knew, one of those questions would soon have an answer. Because Rocky had already sensed something, and Rocky was never wrong. The following day began like any other, with morning announcements echoing through the halls and students filing into classrooms. But Rocky was tense. From the moment they entered the building, the German Shepherd moved with focused purpose, nose low, eyes scanning. Alex noticed it instantly, his partner's body language was unmistakable. "What is it, boy?" he whispered. Rocky didn't hesitate. He moved steadily through the hallway, past students and teachers, ignoring his usual check-in routine. Alex followed closely, one hand on his radio, the other ready at his side. Rocky led him down a lesser-used wing of the school, one used mostly for storage and janitorial access. The fluorescent lights flickered slightly overhead as Rocky stopped in front of a locked gray maintenance closet. He sat squarely, ears forward, tail still. Alex stared at the door. He'd walked past it dozens of times and never given it a second thought. Now, Rocky wouldn't move. Reaching for his master key, Alex unlocked the door slowly. A faint creak echoed as the heavy door swung open. The smell hit him first, not cleaning supplies like he expected, but the faint chemical tang of electronics and dust. Inside, tucked behind shelves of old textbooks and broken fans, sat a black duffel bag, zipped halfway. Alongside it was a small folding table with wires trailing off its edge. Alex's eyes narrowed. He stepped inside and pulled the chain for the ceiling light. The bulb flickered once, then illuminated what was unmistakable, a collection of miniature surveillance cameras, some no bigger than coins. Cables and SD cards were scattered across the table. A portable monitor blinks faintly, showing a paused image from one of the hallways. A microphone, tiny and easily concealable, was taped to the underside of the table. It was clear this wasn't just random junk. Alex turned slowly to look at Rocky, who remained in the doorway, watching. "Good boy," Alex said quietly. Carefully, he placed evidence markers as he snapped photos. His heart pounded, not from fear, but from the deepening weight of betrayal. Someone on the inside had access. Someone trusted enough to walk these halls unseen, and to hide this equipment right under everyone's nose. He bagged the items, his gloved hands moving quickly. Whoever had been running this setup had technical skills, and a purpose. When he stepped out into the hallway, the school felt different again. What started with a ripped painting had now uncovered something far darker than anyone expected. Rocky stayed close at his side, sensing the shift. This wasn't just about hidden cameras anymore. This was organized. Intentional. And someone inside the school was still pretending everything was normal. Later that evening, long after the school had emptied and the evidence was logged, Alex sat alone in the dimly lit security office, elbows on the desk, fingers clasped tightly in front of his face. The silence weighed heavy. Rocky lay at his feet, his head resting on Alex's boot, eyes watching him gently. The soft hum of the building's power system was the only sound, but Alex wasn't hearing that. His mind had drifted, back to the one case he never forgave himself for. 3 years ago, before he'd joined the school district, he'd worked a missing persons case involving a little boy named Jaden. There had been odd signs, small inconsistencies in the child's neighborhood. Strange cars seen near the school. A neighbor's report that no one had followed up on quickly enough. Alex had seen some of the signs, but he'd brushed them off, assuming they didn't connect. They'd lost precious days. By the time they found the boy, it was too late. Alex had stood at that scene, staring into flashing lights and grieving parents, feeling a crushing guilt settle over him. He'd sworn then that if he ever got another chance, he'd never overlook the small signs again. Never assume. Never delay. And now, looking at the ripped painting, the hidden room, the cameras, his chest tightened. This wasn't just another assignment. It was his second chance. He sighed deeply, rubbing his eyes. Rocky, sensing the shift, lifted his head and nudged Alex's arm gently. The touch was soft, grounding. Alex looked down into those steady amber eyes and let a long breath out. "Not this time, buddy," he whispered. "We're not going to let this one slip through." Rocky responded with a quiet nuzzle against Alex's hand. Together, they sat in silence. One man carrying the weight of a past mistake. One dog, loyal and watchful, ready to walk with him through whatever storm lay ahead. The next morning, Alex approached Mark, the custodian, with a gentler tone than before. They sat in a quiet corner of the staff lounge, away from the noise of students and staff. The morning sun filtered through the blinds, casting long shadows across the table. Mark fidgeted with his keyring, avoiding eye contact. Alex didn't press too hard. "I know you've been nervous. I just need to understand what's going on, Mark. Whatever you're holding in, it's already hurting people." Mark swallowed hard. His weathered face twitched slightly, and his voice was barely above a whisper. "I didn't want to. I never wanted any of this." Alex leaned in. "You can tell me. I promise you, this isn't about blaming. It's about protecting the kids." Tears welled in Mark's eyes. "He told me he'd ruin my life, said he knew about my past, about the job I lost years ago. That no one would believe me if I said no." "Who?" Alex asked gently. "I never saw his face. Just messages. Envelopes left in the janitor's closet. Instructions. Equipment. Cash." Mark's hands trembled as he continued. "He told me where to put the cameras. Told me to keep quiet. And when I tried to stop, he threatened my daughter. Said he knew what school she went to." Alex's heart sank. Rocky, lying beside him, lifted his head slightly, as if picking up on the emotion in the room. "I'm sorry," Mark whispered. "I should have come forward sooner. I didn't know what to do." Alex placed a steady hand on Mark's shoulder. "You're doing the right thing now. That matters." Mark wiped his eyes, then leaned closer. "There's another compartment. Like the one behind the painting. It's hidden in the old computer lab wall, under the whiteboard. No one ever uses that room anymore, it's been in storage for years." Alex nodded, already standing. "Show me." Together, with Rocky padding quietly beside them, they made their way down the hall. The old computer lab sat in silence, dust hanging in the air. Mark walked to the far wall and pointed. "Here." Alex knocked gently. There it was again, that hollow sound. With care, he pried open the hidden panel. Inside, another collection of files, a small voice recorder, and a folded list of student names. As he stared into the dark compartment, a chill ran down Alex's spine. This wasn't random. This was planned. And someone still out there was pulling the strings. The second compartment's contents were far more personal, and far more disturbing. Inside the hollow wall behind the old computer lab's whiteboard, Alex found several manila folders stacked neatly, almost methodically. He pulled the top one open and froze. Inside were photographs of children, students from Lakewood Elementary, taken without their knowledge. The photos were carefully labeled with names, dates, and red ink markings that circled certain children's faces or highlighted timestamps. Beneath the photos were personal items, a broken friendship bracelet, a child's keychain, even a small journal with doodles and entries that clearly belonged to a student. These were not just surveillance materials. These were tokens, objects taken directly from students without their consent, maybe without their knowledge. Alex's stomach twisted. Rocky shifted beside him, letting out a low, cautious growl. The room suddenly felt colder. Then Alex found it, a single sheet of paper, folded 4 times and stained at the edges. He unfolded it slowly. It was a handwritten list. A name stood at the top in clean, careful script, Douglas Hensley. Alex's heart dropped. Mr. Hensley, the school's assistant principal. A man everyone admired. Known for his charm, his enthusiasm at assemblies, the jokes he made during lunch duty. Parents trusted him. Teachers respected him. Children adored him. "No," Alex muttered, shaking his head. "It can't be." But the handwriting matched other notes in the folders. The lists, the check marks beside student names, it was all his. Pieces began to click into place. Hensley had access to every hallway, every room, every schedule. He worked late, always volunteering for after-hours security checks. He handled substitute assignments, knew which children walked home alone, which ones were picked up late. He had quietly positioned himself at the center of it all. Alex's hand gripped the folder tighter as rage and disbelief swirled together. How long had Hensley been hiding behind that pleasant smile? How many families had trusted him with their children, never suspecting the danger he posed? He looked at Rocky, who stood rigid, eyes trained on the door as if already sensing what Alex had just confirmed. Trust had been shattered, not by a stranger, but by someone inside the circle. Someone who walked the halls with confidence. Someone who had been hiding in plain sight all along. Alex exhaled sharply, his mind racing with next steps. They needed to act fast. Because the man they were now chasing wasn't just a name on a piece of paper. He was someone they'd shaken hands with. Someone the school trusted. And that betrayal made the danger far more real. The afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of the main office, casting long beams across the polished floor. Students' laughter echoed faintly from outside, but inside the school, a different kind of silence settled, a silence thick with tension. Alex stood just outside Assistant Principal Douglas Hensley's office, a folder clutched in one hand. Rocky sat beside him, motionless, sensing the weight of what was about to unfold. With a deep breath, Alex pushed the door open. Hensley looked up from his desk, his usual warm smile stretching across his face. "Officer Reed. Everything all right?" Alex stepped forward slowly, placing the folder down on the desk without a word. He opened it, revealing the photographs, the list, the coded notes. Hensley's smile faltered. "What is this?" he asked, the tone still calm, but there was a tremble beneath it. Alex didn't answer immediately. He studied the man's reaction. The slight twitch in his jaw. The flicker in his eyes as they scanned the damning contents. Hensley pushed back from the desk, suddenly defensive. "This isn't mine. Anyone could have planted that." Alex leaned forward, voice steady but low. "It was found behind a panel only someone with master access would know about. We have your handwriting, your notes. Mark already talked. We know." The facade cracked. Hensley's face collapsed into something darker, panic, disbelief, and a flicker of deep guilt. His shoulders sagged. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," he murmured, almost to himself. I started keeping tabs, then, it became something else." Alex's jaw clenched. "You crossed every line, Doug. Everyone." As two uniformed officers entered the room, Hensley didn't resist. His hands trembled as they were cuffed, his eyes darting around the room as though searching for a way to undo what had been done. Students passing in the hallway looked on, confused. Teachers whispered behind half-closed doors. Justice, though painful, had finally arrived. As Hensley was escorted out, Rocky stood tall beside Alex, ears forward, gaze fixed ahead. The hall felt a little lighter now. Safer. Alex didn't speak, but inside, he made a silent promise: the trust that had been broken today would be rebuilt. Starting now. The news of Douglas Hensley's arrest spread through Lakewood faster than anyone expected. Whispers turned into headlines, and headlines turned into difficult conversations. Parents were shaken. Teachers were stunned. Children asked quiet questions that adults struggled to answer. That evening, the school auditorium filled with families, teachers, and community members for an emergency town hall. The room buzzed with unease, grief, anger, confusion all woven together. Alex stood off to the side with Rocky beside him, the dog sitting proudly in his harness, calm amid the tension. The school board chair spoke first, offering reassurance. "We are heartbroken, but we are not broken. And we are not alone." Principal Carter, visibly emotional, stepped forward. "We didn't know. But now that we do, we promise, this school will never look away again." Alex was invited to speak, and though he didn't love public attention, he walked up slowly. His voice was firm but honest. "I missed signs once before. I live with that every day. This time, we listened to someone who couldn't speak but knew the truth before any of us did." He looked down at Rocky and smiled. "This dog saved your children." The room erupted in quiet applause. Some parents wiped away tears. Children hugged their parents tighter. In the days that followed, Rocky became more than a working dog, he became a hero. Students drew pictures of him, taped them to classroom doors. Parents brought him treats and flowers. Local media called him the dog who saw what others didn't. A small plaque was installed at the school entrance. In honor of Rocky, for loyalty, courage, and the protection of innocence. And though healing would take time, the school felt different now, not because of what happened, but because the community chose to face it, together. A week later, the entire town gathered once more, this time under different circumstances. Balloons lined the school gymnasium, camera crews stood quietly in the back, and a banner stretched across the stage. Honoring courage, Officer Alex Reed and K9 Rocky. Students sat cross-legged on the floor, their eyes wide with admiration. Parents filled the bleachers. Teachers stood proudly along the walls. At center stage stood Alex, dressed in full uniform, his eyes glistening as he looked out over the crowd. Rocky sat loyally by his side, wearing a special medal attached to his harness. The mayor stepped forward. "Today, we don't just recognize bravery, we recognize what it means to protect and serve with heart. Because of Alex and Rocky, lives were saved, and trust was restored." The crowd applauded loudly. Children cheered. Someone held up a hand-drawn poster that read, "Rocky is our hero." The school unveiled a new program, Project Guardian, a safety initiative focused on child protection, surveillance awareness, and the role animals can play in identifying unseen threats. Rocky would be its permanent mascot and symbol. As the ceremony ended, Alex knelt beside Rocky, rubbing behind his ears. "We did it, boy," he whispered. "We made it right this time." Rocky leaned in gently, eyes calm, as if he understood every word. In that moment, under the warm lights and shared applause, Alex felt something rare, peace. A bond, once formed in silence and shadows, now stood tall in the light of honor. Sometimes, heroes don't wear capes, they walk on four legs, with watchful eyes and an unwavering heart. Rocky didn't speak a single word, yet he screamed the truth louder than anyone else could. In a world full of distractions and noise, it was his instinct, pure, unshakable, that pulled back the curtain and revealed the danger hiding in plain sight. This story wasn't just about uncovering secrets. It was about bravery in silence, the kind that comes from trust, intuition, and loyalty. Alex followed Rocky's lead because deep down, he knew, when something doesn't feel right, it usually isn't. It's a reminder to all of us, listen to your gut, stay alert, and never underestimate the quiet signals. If Rocky inspired you today, if his courage reminded you that even one small action can protect many, please like, share, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear your thoughts and stories. Because somewhere out there, another Rocky might be waiting to save the day. A few quiet weeks passed, and life at Lakewood Elementary slowly returned to normal. Students laughed again in the halls. Teachers smiled with ease. The shadow of betrayal had lifted, but not completely. One morning, Alex arrived at his office to find a plain, unmarked envelope on his desk. No return address. No stamps. Just his name in block letters across the front. He opened it slowly. Inside was a single sheet of paper, neatly folded, with a typed message. Check Brookside Elementary. Storage room 2B. It's happening again. Attached was a blurry photo, another school hallway, nearly identical to Lakewood's, with a faint outline marked in red on a student art display. Alex stared at the letter, his jaw tightening. Someone knew he was the one to follow this trail. Someone wanted him to see what others were missing. Rocky padded into the room, tail still. His ears perked up as he sniffed the envelope. Then, without hesitation, he let out a low, steady growl. Alex didn't need any more convincing. He folded the letter and slipped it into his jacket pocket, his eyes already fixed ahead. There were more secrets. More children who might be at risk. And this time, they wouldn't wait for something to go wrong. Because Rocky wasn't just a hero. He was a warning. They thought it was over. But Rocky knew, it had only just begun.